This film was shot when Samson and his companion Sambo were about 4 years old. They were purchased for $10,000 by the Pabst Brewing Company. Upon arrival to Milwaukee on October 15, 1950, they were thought to be just under 1 year old. Samson weighed 12.5 pounds and Sambo a strapping 15 pounds. They were captured in the Cameroons of West Africa, sold to animal dealer Henry Treflick, and then to the Washington Park Zoo. From their time of arrival, Mrs. Edith Scott cared for them until they were approximately 4 years of age. At that time, zookeepers resumed the care of the two gorillas. In the 1950s, the popular weekly TV program Zoo Parade, hosted by Marlin Perkins, came to the Washington Park Zoo with a special visit to Samson.
I've heard a lot about your gorillas here, George. And how about this big cage now? Is this the exercise cage?
This is exercise cage. Let's let them in, Frank. That's it.
Come on in here, fellas. What are their names?
Sambo and Samson.
Sambo
the first
and
one.
Samson. Well, what would you say, about half grown on these fellas?
Just about half grown. They're about 6 years old. They've been here 5 years.
Yeah. And who took care of them at first? Now, are these gentle animals, too?
Oh, they're gentle, yes. Of course, they're not as gentle as they used to be, but...
You're not going in with them any longer?
No, I don't think so.
They look too big for that for me.
Yeah, much too big.
Yeah.
But they're still gentle enough you could shake hands with them through the bars, Marlon, if you'd like to.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Shall we try that?
All right. They won't bop you, will they?
Well, we'll have to watch them a little carefully. Not that
Was it
they're rough,
Sambo?
but they...
Sambo? Who took care of Sambo when he was a little one?
Mrs. Scott. Mrs. Edith Scott took care of them until about 2 years ago.
Yeah? Come over here, Sam.
This fellow, Sambo, weighed, at that time, 15 pounds. Sammy, 12.5 pounds. He was a smaller one.
And then they've been together all the time?
They've been together, Marlon, almost all the time, except for 2 times when they're a little ill. Of course, they didn't like that.
Didn't like being separated?
Not at all.
Well, I don't blame them for not wanting to be away. They're pretty gentle at that, aren't they?
They're real buddies.
But, now, you don't be popping me. Here, you can have this. You know
Come
what?
on over here, Sambo. That's the boy.
All right, you can have
Oh, you see, he wanted his share of that left.
I know. Well, you know, I've seen a lot of gorillas in zoos, George, but it's a rare thing to see 2 male gorillas that are, what is he, about 200 pounds, this big fellow here?
This fellow here is about 200.
It's a rare thing, I think, to see them living together, 2 males in a cage like this.
I'm very happy with them.
I know we have 4 at Lincoln Park, and we can't have those 4, any of them together for any length of time.
You can't.
Oh, they're great animals.
This segment was shot in the mid-1950s, showing the construction of the new zoo and the gorillas' new quarters. In the fall of 1959, Sambo and Samson were crated and brought to these new quarters at the present site of the zoo. Primate quarters in zoos at this time were designed with more space, brightly colored tiles, and glass windows. Today, quarters are designed with realistic habitats for the animals' welfare. Tragically, only a few short months after moving into their new quarters, Sambo died of tuberculosis. This footage was shot in the mid-1960s, nearing Samson's prime. In 1975, a female gorilla named Terror was introduced to Samson as a possible mate and breeding companion. It was hoped that she and Samson would produce offspring of their own. Unfortunately, they failed to breed. In 1979, Terror was taken to the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago. She did reproduce, giving birth to a daughter in 1982. But that's another story.
The main attraction at the zoo is undoubtedly 500-pound Samson. Trainer Sam LaMalfa has been with Sam for 7 years now.
Coming, Sam. How are we today, huh? Are we in a high? Are we in a low, huh? Hey, come say hi. I got a couple friends to meet. Sam. Hey, big kid, come here. That time of the morning. It's that time of the morning. You know what this is, right?
Samson is getting his morning Jell-O water, giving him needed vitamins, anti-tuberculin pills, wheat germ oil, and medication.
Get used to them.
Well, Samson is awesome up close, and he has a way of getting your attention.
Now, what you're hearing here is he's a little annoyed simply because he wants me here, but he wants me here alone. He's sort of like a spoiled kid, I guess. He feels he's sharing me with others. You people being here now pose a possible threat to him. You're on his ground, his environment, his little privacy back here, which hardly anybody comes, except people that he knows. Also, I am sharing my affections with others than him. In his little world, he feels I belong to him. People often ask, am I afraid of him? I'm not afraid the same way other people would be. I know what the animal's made of. I know what the strength, what he could do under the right circumstances. But there's this bond of friendship, faith, trust between us. And he knows I would bring no harm to him, absolutely, even though you're with me and you pose this threat. This is his way of trying to threaten you away. All this slam bang and stuff, which is usually only 10% of the time. Bingo.
Sam says his best friend Samson is probably better known in the area than some politicians. And with Samson pushing 32, he's in perfect health. Prost. Long live Samson.
On November 27th of 1981, at the age of 32, Samson died unexpectedly of a massive heart attack. Following is just one of the many tributes to Samson, a Milwaukee legend. I see each one as an individual, more even than anybody else, because I work directly with them, day after day.
Day after day for over 30 years, Sam LaMalfa has worked with the gorillas at the Milwaukee County Zoo. It is one gorilla in particular that LaMalfa will probably never forget. But then, who can forget Samson?
I mean, they'd be 8, 10 deep, crowd in front, and whether he did anything or not, he was very popular.
Samson spent 31 years at the county zoo. He died in 1981 of a heart attack. He was well over 500 pounds when he died, unusually large for a gorilla. He was unusually popular as well.
It was a sad day because you want to feel this kind of thing goes on and on and on. If it's an institution, and it does go on and on in his death. It's kind of like Elvis Presley. You know, he's bigger today, Marilyn Monroe. They're bigger today than when they were stars.
Like Elvis and Marilyn Monroe, LaMalfa believes Samson has become an immortal. Now, Milwaukee's Public Museum will use the gorilla's skeletal remains as part of an exhibit.
I think they're using him because it's Samson. But if you have a lot of skeletons, why not take a most popular one?
Sam LaMalfa says in life, Samson had the public in the palm of his hand. In death, the gorilla is still being talked about. With the exhibit opening in 1996, some say Samson will be back where he belongs, in the public eye. In Milwaukee, Jeff Pegues, TV6 News.
Samson's skeletal remains will be part of a turn-of-the-century Victorian-style exhibit, which will represent the historic role that museum collections played in human cultures. Joanne, somehow, though, I don't think Samson will be quite the same.
It's not quite the same. Thanks a lot, John.
A new exhibit today called Samson Returns. It features the skeleton of Milwaukee's beloved gorilla. Samson lived at the Milwaukee County Zoo for more than 30 years, died of a heart attack back in 1981. This special exhibit will run through August 11th. The skeleton will become part of a permanent exhibit in October. So Samson is back, in spirit anyhow. You guys are...
Salute to Samson. Samson the gorilla lived at the Milwaukee County Zoo for more than 30 years. He died in 1981. Today, Samson returns. The 652-pound gorilla's skeleton went on display this morning at the museum. Samson's keeper told stories to the gorilla's old friends and some brand new friends.
We think it's wonderful because we saw Samson for many years at the zoo, at the Milwaukee Zoo.
I think it's cool. Why do you think it's cool? Because he was famous.
Samson arrived in Milwaukee back in 1950 as a 12-pound baby. His skeleton will become part of a new exhibit, A Sense of Wonder, in October.
That's neat. Thanks. See you at 10.
Good night.
Tonight's prime picture as the primate who reigned as king of the county zoo. Now, 15 years after his death, Samson the gorilla is winning a new legion of fans. Tony Aiello reports that's thanks to a new display at the Milwaukee Public Museum.
We've seen him many years at the zoo.
His big bones still exude a certain power.
It's scary just looking at him.
The power to spark memories in one generation, the power to impress another.
When I first looked at it, I just sort of went, like, I seemed kind of surprised.
When I started the zoo...
But the man who took care of Samson in life isn't surprised. Even his skeleton is proving a star attraction.
He was bigger in life, and he's bigger in life in death.
You know what this is, right?
When Samson died in 1981, his bones found their way into storage at the Milwaukee Public Museum. 15 years later, the decision was made to put Samson back where he belongs, in the public eye. The task fell to taxidermist Floyd Easterman.
When I saw him, I never dreamed the day would come that I would get to know him quite literally, inside and out.
Now the display has people thinking back to the time when 500 pounds of muscle covered this frame.
He suddenly moved right against the glass and pounded it as hard as he could. And my sister-in-law just jumped.
Now, 15 years after his death, Samson's memory lives on.
He must have really been a great animal.
Tony Aiello, 6 is News, Milwaukee.
A lot of us remember how Samson pounded that glass. Stay with us now for new stories here on 6 is News at 10. Joyce and Bill have a preview.
He was the biggest attraction by far at the Milwaukee County Zoo.
Samson was a 650-pound lowland gorilla who called the zoo his home for 31 years. Now, 15 years after his death, a part of Samson is being resurrected. CBS 58's Jay Gormley is here to explain.
Well, Mike and Laurie, it may be hard to tell from these pictures, but yes, you are looking at the one and only Samson, at least what's left of him. Now, right now, the Milwaukee Public Museum is piecing his bones together for an exhibit dedicated solely to this legendary African gorilla. It's being done to bring back memories of someone who was loved by almost everyone here in Milwaukee. Who could forget this face? For 31 years, he called the Milwaukee County Zoo home. His name was Samson, and he was easily the zoo's main attraction. At his peak, this African gorilla weighed in at 650 pounds. He was loved by all. But in 1981, at the age of 32, Samson died of heart failure. Well, now, the chief taxidermist for the Milwaukee Public Museum is bringing back a part of Samson. Bone by bone, Floyd Easterman is piecing back the skeletal remains. Easterman calls it an honor. Well, there he is. He's about 95% completed. But you know what? About 5 months ago, none of this was put together. In fact, most of the bones were scattered all over the table. And when people would walk in, they'd say, well, whose bones are they? When they found out, you should have heard the response.
Oh, those are Samson's bones? And that's the fascination of this gorilla is absolutely astounding, because all through the years, I have received probably hundreds of questions. Does the museum have Samson's bones?
And so the finishing touches are being placed on Samson. He debuts at the Milwaukee Public Museum in less than a week. For Sam LaMalfa, it brings back fond memories. You see, LaMalfa was Samson's keeper for 15 years and was there the day he died.
Well, of course, it's the skeleton, but I can envision him in life still, with memories and photographs, movies and videos. And it, like I said, brings back many memories.
And Samson's skeleton will be the focus of his very own exhibit starting this Monday at the Milwaukee Public Museum. After that, he'll have to share the spotlight, unfortunately, with other exhibits, but he will have a permanent spot at the museum. Mike and Laurie?
Thanks a lot, Jay. You know, I was walking through the Apes of Africa exhibit about a month ago with my family, and I could still hear the name Samson being echoed through the hallways. People still talking about it.
Yeah. Looked like an incredible creature.
Unforgettable.
Well, at least they still have part of him. That's great. Well, we've had some wonderfully laid-back, beautiful summer weather.
Now, as for the gorilla, this story has made her an instant celebrity, but was her behavior so unusual? We take a look at that question. NBC News In Depth tonight with George Lewis.
Today at the Brookfield Zoo, Binti was being given the celebrity treatment, hailed for her heroism. As she played with her own baby, everyone talked about how she saved a human child.
Binti is a successful mother. She's done very well with Kula. So the hand-rearing, the maternal training, and the fact that she is a successful mother may have contributed to her actions on Friday.
Her rescue of the small boy who fell into the enclosure on Friday has played on television screens around the world. Binti amazing everyone with how she gently cradled the boy and placed him near a door where rescuers could reach him. And around the country today, visitors to zoos were talking about the incident.
I never thought a gorilla would do that.
No, I think there's probably some human-like tendencies, probably, that they have, and no, that doesn't surprise me.
It's always kind of struck me that gorillas are nicer than people.
They haven't always been portrayed that way. Ever since the 30s, when King Kong hoisted Fay Ray atop the Empire State Building, gorillas have had an image problem, depicted as dangerous monsters. People who work with gorillas in zoos say nothing could be farther from the truth, that in many ways gorillas are a whole lot like us.
Gorillas do still have a little bit of that King Kong legacy, and I think what we're learning is that they're much more complex than that, and they're much more the gentle giants, as people refer to them.
10 years ago in the British Channel Islands, there was a similar incident. A 350-pound gorilla named Jambo comforting a 5-year-old child who fell into her enclosure, backing off when rescuers arrived. Some experts say that instances of animals, especially gorillas, showing compassion for other living things may be a whole lot more common than we realize. At the Gorilla Foundation in the San Francisco Bay Area, they've taught Coco, a 25-year-old female, to recognize sign language. Coco is Binti's aunt, and Coco's keepers say both animals' behavior is not surprising.
Binti, a female gorilla, like Coco, has very strong maternal instincts, and those are activated by babies. And it turns out babies of any species. Coco's was activated by a baby kitten, but also by baby humans. She very much likes to hold them.
An important factor in the behavior of both Coco and Binti was that they were hand-reared by humans and bonded to people at a very early age. We have not often thought of gorillas as warm and cuddly creatures. But now, thanks to Binti, we see that some of our closest genetic relatives are also compassionate. George Lewis, NBC News, Los Angeles.
When we come back tonight's Health Watch, something called hepatitis.